and thank you all for having me. I will try to make this as not entertaining, but as informative as I possibly can. So give me 1 second, and I'm going to share my screen to make sure everyone can see what I am doing.
I was just going to say, Erin, maybe I should have introduced you first, but I don't know if you know everyone on this call. You haven't joined us for a little while.
I haven't joined you, so I'm happy to make an introduction for myself. I am staffed with SIOR. I am the Director of Chapter Relations. So I talk with Matthew, I talk with Paul, and the leadership of the European chapters, as well as many other chapters, and I attempt to make SIOR global in the chapters, provide services to those chapters for you as members. And this is one of those. You'll have to bear with me. I haven't done one of these presentations in a while. And when I get nervous, and I am often nervous when speaking, I speak fast. I'm also very grateful that you won't be able to see my face for most of this because I will be turning into a tomato.
Okay.
All right. So can you all see the screen?
Yep.
All right. I am going to, so I can't see you any longer. So if you have questions and other things, please speak. But I am going to hit play and we will hope everything works out. So we're going to start with SIOR.com. And this is the SIOR.com website. And as you can see, we're sort of sitting here for a minute. Our goals for today are to provide you with to show you how to tailor your communications, by managing your account, take you through a brief walkthrough of our marketing toolkit, and help you find those resources to the logos, as well as how to promote your listings, briefly walk through our transactions platform so that you can increase your knowledge and increase the reputation of SIOR by bragging about what you've accomplished, give or take. And then also how to navigate our members only platform, which is MySIOR. And as you can see on the screen in about, some point in time along here, we will get forward. I really should have bookmarked these. So again, I'm sorry, I haven't done this for a while. This is what MySIOR looks like. And I'm just gonna pause here because I don't remember how much time I gave myself when I was talking about this. There is a difference between MySIOR and SIOR.com. So SIOR.com, which is this website, is where all of your member tools and resources live. So this is where you'll be able to manage your account. This is where our marketing toolkit lives. This is where SIOR Connect, which is our term for the promote your listing piece is. It is also where the transaction, where you'll submit your transactions. MySIOR is our members only forum. And so that is where you'll go to network with your peers in SIOR. And it's a great community platform, but they are different. And the easiest way to see that difference is via the URL and the logo on the pages. So SIOR.com will have the SIOR logo. MySIOR is a circle. Moving forward a little bit, we're going to start with managing your account. If you go underneath current members, that's where it lives. You can renew your membership, my payment history. And today we're mostly going to pay attention to editing profiles. So if you click on edit your profile, you will have to log in. You should have received a username and password when you joined SIOR. If you need a refresher on what that is, feel free to reach out to membership@sior.com. And the very first page you come across is the personal information part 1. This is where you can update your contact information. If you've gained designation since you joined us, I want to direct your attention to the preferred mailing address and business addresses. You know, we do ask people to review and revise as necessary. And that's all in the first tab. The second tab is where you can update your bio, add websites and LinkedIn. But most importantly, it's where you can update your photo. And I'm just going to pause here for a second. You know, we do encourage that if you haven't put a photo on SIOR on our platform, that you do so. It's a great way for people to recognize you when you join us in person or on these Zoom calls. And also, if you haven't updated it in a few years and you look slightly different, let's say you've grown a beard, it's a good idea to make sure that that's somewhat recent. Show the best sides of yourself.
I just had a shave.
I was going to say, like, Matthew had a beard at some point in time. The next tab is professional. This is pretty self-explanatory. You can add in your education, achievements, awards, certificates. I'm going to not show you the account information, but if you want to update your password, that's where it lives. And then finally is the communication preferences. And communications preferences, if you'll give it a minute, it took me a minute for it to actually move forward on the screen. This is where you can tailor how and what you want SIOR to communicate with you. I'm not going over anything super specific here, but underneath manage your account, edit profile, communication preferences, you can say, yes, I want to opt into event emails, but no, I don't want foundation emails. Or yes, I want to know about thought leadership. Once you're done, click save and your preferences will be saved. We also will link you to our SIOR Connect preferences and MySIOR from here, and I'll get to that when we get to those sections. Moving on, I'm now going to take you to the marketing toolkit in just 1 second as I attempt to navigate myself there. And in the marketing toolkit, we're going to start with the toolkit overview. I don't click on many things in here, but it's a good idea. But the platform runs you, the overview will run you through most of what we do offer. First and foremost are our logos. Since you're here and seeing where this is, I would recommend that you take a minute to perhaps download those logos for yourself and check your signature blocks and websites. And if need be, update them or, maybe make a tweak so that it's more prominent or not as prominent. We also have coverage maps, and this is a great tool if you have clients that are looking for more global coverage. It shows you where SIORs are concentrated across the globe. These do get updated, but updates are routinely scheduled rather than as members are acquired. So something to note, there are virtual backgrounds. Matthew is using one right now. If you haven't grabbed one, I strongly suggest you do. And then the other piece I really wanted to show you is the team portfolios, and we'll come back to that in a second, or right now. So I don't know how many of you have ever used this or seen this. This is a tool we introduced about 4 years ago or so, and I really like it. It does have, because I think it really speaks to marketing yourself as an SIOR, and again, that global distinction in a more individual fashion. So you can see this is a list of all of the portfolios that are associated with this account. To create your own, you'd create a new portfolio. You will fill in all of the details that are associated with this. For the purpose of this walkthrough, I named this one the SIOR ERC walkthrough. And then choose the map region. Now the map region that you choose is the only one that will be shown. So even if you choose a member, for instance, if you did North America and you just chose a member in Japan, it won't show anybody in Japan. It will just show North America. So be careful of what you choose. You can add your company logo to it. Make sure you save settings. When I first did this, I did not save my settings, and I was very sad because I couldn't remember which one was mine. And then next, you can add members. And again, this is sort of where you get the individual aspect versus the global coverage piece. It takes you to our Find an SIOR platform.
Sorry, Erin, what was the purpose of the teams? Is it for people that are working in the same company or just people that you're connected to?
I think you can use it for both.
Through the network.
I feel that it promotes, if you're working across, if you have a client who's looking for access to people in Austria and in Italy that don't have, say they don't work for the same company, or that company doesn't have that particular, a branch in that particular region. I feel that this map really helps to show that you can have access to a person in that region and you know who that person is. And this is the person who could help you with that. So it is, to me, it is a good
Okay.
tool for clients. I think it's also a useful tool for in-company pieces if you want to demonstrate to a client that my company does have these reaches and their SIORs, right? So it can be used either direction. Is that good? Does that make sense? Did I totally botch it?
No.
Okay. Moving on. So in this case, you would just click Add to Portfolio. And it does take a second for it to register. And then I'm going to scroll through a little bit because I did end up making a mistake on this. But you just continue to add. So you put a name in and add, and then we're going to jump a little bit. Add to portfolio. And then if you want to see the rest of somebody across because it is global, you just keep adding until you're done with your team.
And they don't have to approve that. So you can.
I would imagine that before you used this, they would already have known about it. But no, there's no.
Okay.
I think it's designed to help you leverage relationships.
Okay, great.
And so this is what pops up. And it does provide you a link so that you can send it to a client in that fashion. I would recommend.
Erin, can I just jump in for a second?
Absolutely. And
just remind us where the entry point was for that, the original point of entry.
Oh, sure. If you'll give me 1 second, it lives underneath the SIOR Marketing Toolkit.
Right.
And it is the team, I want to say it's the team
Portfolio, did you say?
Portfolios, but 1 second and I will, let me just double check. I can't, I am not proficient in navigating as I am attempting to do presentations anymore. So 1 second, it is underneath current members marketing toolkit, and it is the team coverage. No, yeah. Is that correct?
So it's primarily under marketing toolkit.
It is in the product. It is, and it is team portfolios.
Yeah, team portfolios. Okay.
In fact, the URL for it is 1 second. Marketing tool. So it's SIOR.com current members marketing toolkit team portfolio.
Right.
So
okay.
Yeah, so if an SIOR is putting a pitch together for a client that has property, anywhere, they can go through and produce a map that shows where the members are that can help with that particular client in a pitch, for example. That's the idea behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I came back to it, this is quite interesting, Matthew, isn't it, for us, in terms of various events that we put on, in terms of the panel, say, putting together. I don't believe we've used this, have we?
Never seen it before.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fascinating.
Well, I'm glad I could introduce you to something that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
I really like it. I think it's one of the niftiest tools we've ever used. So, or created. So I'm glad I could show it to you. And then, so that's what this looks like. And that link is a very useful link. I will warn you that trying to print it, at least on mine, doesn't always look the greatest, but I'm sure that's just a failure of my computer more than anything. And once it's created, you can go back and access it by going to your team portfolios. From here, we are going to go to SIOR Connect, which is also promote your listing. And in regards to this, it's our member-to-member mailing address, essentially. So you will generate a unique mailing list for listings. We also allow it for wants, needs, and inquiries. It is tailored to locations and sort of what you need from the person you are trying to reach if you don't know an SIOR in a location. I
So
will
if I have an asset for sale in Geneva, I can put this on here and it will get circulated to anyone that could be interested.
yes,
Or I
exactly.
can search for an asset in Houston if I have a client in Geneva that wants to buy something in Houston, for example.
Exactly. And I will walk through both of those sort of areas, but that is exactly what it is used for. I'm just going to pause it here for a couple of notes. We do recommend that you bookmark this website if you are interested in using it. That is SIOR.com, current members. And then underneath current members, it is promote your listing to get to it and then bookmark it. And that's because it does get a little confusing because we refer to it as SIOR Connect. So website says promote your listing, but it is also, as it says on the screen, SIOR Connect. As a note, you do, and then to me, the best part about this is you use your own email client. So you'll write your email, you can put an attachment. The attachment must be smaller than 2 megabytes. We do recommend that if you can't get it to work, you use a bit.ly or Dropbox and put the link in your email. All fields are required. SIOR encourages members to use this for listings. You can send wants, needs, and inquiries, and there's also the option for the SIOR Cares program, which was deployed last year. But the reason for that is listings are very targeted to specific areas, and wants, needs, and inquiries typically receive a better response via the SIOR Central, which is on MySIOR in the MySIOR forum. Again, all of these fields are required except for the price, and that can be put elsewhere or not included in this particular piece.
Is there a metric setting in oh, you can't show it because
there
it's
is. There is, as a
but
matter of fact,
is.
there's meters. Meters is in here.
Okay. Okay, great.
The
Across
locations
yeah.
are where your listing is located, not where you're located. So, you know, we do recommend you try to be specific. You must select it from that drop down and click add, otherwise it does not like you. And then to further narrow down the list of your email of your recipients, we do suggest that you select your targeted members. You can select everybody. We don't have a check all, so there's no way to do it with just hitting check all. And again, on the areas of practice. So I am just being very random here. There was no rhyme or reason to what I was hitting. You must select the I agree to terms and conditions. And if you select the terms and conditions and to read it, it will walk you through what we do and do not do, and also how long it will take for it to go out. A lot of people think this is an instantaneous system. It is not. SIOR receives your email, and then within 2 business days, we will review it and send it out. So I will let you know, by review, I don't mean we proofread. So I just want to emphasize that before you send anything, you proof your emails.
So you're checking that it conforms to the T's and C's.
Correct.
Okay.
But not for spelling or listing errors.
No.
And it does not, you cannot proof it once you hit send. That is the other piece that I should mention. There is no proofing once you hit send. So you can see that the email address is generated. It's that long piece down at the bottom that says @SIOR Connect here. And it also runs you through what I just ran you through, which is that 2 megs, 2 business days. Other things to note, you have to use your designation in the email, and that it can only be used, the email address can only be used once. So once you hit submit, it will show you that you have sent something. And evidently this didn't record, but I actually did walk through a test email to send it, which is why it shows that. You copy and paste the email address into the to subject, into your to line of your email client. You write whatever your message is and you hit send. It's as easy as that. And then once you've sent a message, it does display for you where it is in that process.
Okay,
so Matthew,
so just to be clear then, I don't know if you can go back a little bit, just you put in all the information and it creates a special email address that you then use in your own software, Outlook or Gmail or whatever.
Correct.
To send it to the people that you've set it up for in the previous steps.
Yes.
That's right? Okay.
That is correct.
So you have to click that link there at the bottom to send it. Okay.
So that should work. I typically right click and then copy email address.
Yeah.
But yes, I would imagine that if you've got your client hooked up to this, you could select this and it would pop up with a mail to email.
So you're writing it, putting the information in there, it creates a generic address, and that generic address there is simply being used to send it to the right people.
Correct. So you create your own email.
Business, okay.
Yep, you create your own. So essentially, if you were trying to target France, right, you would create an email with all of that information that we requested, and then it would generate an email address that essentially narrows down the email list to just the people that were industrial specialists with France.
And once it's in that pending box, can I go in and edit it or delete it? I've decided that there's a mistake and I can go back to it and say, oops, I should have done, check the spelling beforehand and I realized I've forgotten something. Or
So no, once you have sent it, you cannot do anything to it. But if you realize it, say, within 5 minutes of sending,
you've approved it.
Right, before if you realize it before it gets approved, you can reach out to us, either membership@sior.com or my colleagues Ying Chow or Robin Forgy, or and they will be able to either delete the email. Actually, they'll be able to delete the email, and the downside is you will have to go through again and generate a new address because the addresses can only be used once.
Yeah. Okay.
So this shows you what the requests are, and it does show you how many people have seen it, or how many people have sent to, and how many people actually looked at it, which I find to be a very good feature, right? Obviously, these are getting
yeah, and the messages come back to your own email client, or they come back to this system? Okay.
Nope, they come back to your email client.
Okay.
And you can see, as you asked Matthew, you can see any messages that were sent and when and where they were sent to. So if you thought you saw something in an inbox come through, you can see what it is. And if you scroll over, you can actually click on it to see the message. So
you can access everyone else's messages through that same platform. Okay.
Correct. And then the last thing I want to touch on with SIOR Connect is the communications preference for SIOR Connect lives here in the SIOR Connect section and not in that communication preferences that I showed you earlier. And what this section does is narrow down the types of Connect messages you want to see and where you want to see them from, essentially, or where you want to, what property locations you would want to see them from. So if you didn't want SIOR cares or wants, needs, and inquiries, all you wanted were listings, you would unselect those. It really allows you to tailor your preferences and tailor the needs of your business.
What is the default value for this when you become a member, or if you haven't been in here since, for a while and you've never changed it? Is it sending you everything?
I believe it sends you everything. I think our default is that you get everything.
Yeah, so it's all checked until it's unchecked. Okay.
Yep, and make sure you hit submit or save. I can't remember which the bottom button said, to save your preferences. And that ends the SIOR Connect section. So our next section is underneath transactions and the submit transactions. There are some really other nifty features in our transaction section. But we're going to cover the submit piece because I think that's the more important one. And we really encourage people to submit their transactions. This is how SIOR sort of proves what we state, right? This is where the evidence to our claims that we are the best of the best and our brokers are the best of the best come from.
And Headquarters has just announced the 2020 winners of the transaction awards.
Yes, and I believe somebody on this call is one of the winners.
Really?
I believe so.
Who is that?
I believe Nick, and I'm going to get your last name, McCall Woods, right?
Yeah.
I believe he is the Office transaction winner.
Okay, great. And just to remind everyone, we are running a competition. Although the 2020 transaction awards for Headquarters are over, we've done our own mini European one, so you've still got time to enter your 2020 transactions, although it's too late for the Headquarters prize. Fantastic prizes you've lost out on, but we still have a prize of a 12-bottle case of Bordeaux wine if you put in all your transactions for 2020 at the end. So the closing date is the end of this month, and the winner will be announced at our next drinks in 1 month's time.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. In an effort to get people to put in their transactions, you see.
And I approve. We have one chapter that runs their entire awards program off of the transactions people submit to us, and their chapter has the most transactions. So.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the way it works. But anyway, so this is the walkthrough for that. I feel like the questions here are pretty, should be fairly, hopefully easy to answer. I am not a broker, so my knowledge is I was just clicking buttons to show you how things are done. So building, obviously, you'd choose what kind of type it is. What you can't see on this, unfortunately, is me scrolling through a drop-down that evidently did not get recorded. So I am a little bummed about that fact. And it's weird that the calendar pops up, but the drop-downs don't. It does have to be a past date, so it does have to be executed. You can't put things in the future. And if it is an investment, we do offer those options as well. Most of this information is required. As you can see by the stars indicated. And I am just filling this out so you can see we are working on, we are looking at putting in different types of unit measures. This was designed several years ago. We realize we are slightly outdated. And so we are investigating the possibility of updating to include meters and metric measurements as well.
Yeah.
And then Matthew, you might have something to mention on here regarding the total transaction volume.
Well, yes, I had a few inquiries about what that meant, total transaction volume. Obviously, it's fairly clear for a sale. It's the net purchase price or sale price of your building, and whatever that might be, 40 million euros. For a lease, if you're doing a lease transaction, you basically, typically in Europe, you probably calculate your fees on 1 year's rent. But here, what it's asking is actually it's nothing to do with fees as such. It's really calculating the value of that lease in very simple terms. So if you're getting 1 million euros a year in rent from this particular building, and it's a 20-year lease, then that transaction volume is 20 million. And that's the figure that you would put in here, 20 million. And I think, Nick, that's what you've done on your recent deal, isn't it? You've multiplied the annual rent by the number of years to get your biggest office transaction of the year. Nick?
Yeah, I look at the contract value. So if you have a break option, there's no, you have to ignore the break option because there's no guarantee the tenant will exercise that break option. So you look at the contract value over the length of the lease and try and reflect it as a triple as they would in Europe. So otherwise in the UK, if you don't include the service charge, etc., you're not comparing apples with apples.
That's right. So you would normally as far as this field is concerned, and what we're doing is going to add in a description here, to an explanation of what it really means. It says they're not including options, but it obviously excludes tax and service charges. It would also exclude rent-free periods, any other incentives that have been given, and then you multiply it by the lease duration.
Excellent. And yes, that is what I was instructed when I was asking for tips and tricks from the person who runs our transaction program to help with this presentation. She said, it is gross. It is not net, and it is gross across the lifetime of the deal. So just some things to consider when you put it in. And then if you have an SIOR on your, and if you don't want to publish the total transaction volume, or if you just want it used for, like I said, to provide that backing to what SIOR's claims are, we don't have to publish it. That is absolutely acceptable.
Yeah, if it's confidential, because you can put the client name in there somewhere as well, can't you?
Yep.
Oh yes, it's a bit further down, yeah.
Yep. So if it's confidential and you don't want that let out, we do understand that. If there are SIORs on your deal, we ask that you add everybody and that only one person submits the transaction. So if you've got 3 people who are very familiar and very comfortable with the system, select somebody and make sure that gets known so we don't get multiple of the same. And then select, if it is whatever broker it might have been, select that and they will appear as one of the members. And you can add as many as are on either side. So here I just did it for both, and this is for the other side, the buyer lessees. And again, I'm not a broker, so I just made things up when I was putting in answers. And then if you wish, you can
make a perfect broker then, Eric. We'll make things up.
Right? Like, I don't know. So I just make things up. And you can add a photo. You are required to sign so that we have something that verifies that, and to agree that you certify that that information is accurate to the best of your knowledge. And then you hit submit. And that is the transaction platform. It's very easy. If you have questions or...
Yeah, you just missed a bit about the foundation.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's okay. It's just to because I'm sticking up for the foundation as a trustee. You can donate 1% of your fee to the SIOR Foundation by clicking a box there.
Yes, and Corinne will then invoice you for that. So just be aware.
I know Carter Jonas do this. I know Andy does this on all of his deals. They donate 1% of their fee to the foundation.
We have a couple of company members and members in general that do, and obviously we encourage people who wish to give back to the foundation to do so as well.
Aaron, on these transactions, have you had any feedback of errors that people have made on a consistent basis? I only ask because I submitted a couple, at least I thought I did, but only one ended up being found. And so I am sure I screwed something up, but I have absolutely no clue what that could have been. So I was just wondering, is there anything that you've heard in the past, where people may have messed up?
That's an excellent question. I have not, and that's probably because I'm not the person who normally handles the transactions. But I will get back to everybody about that, because I think that's a good, that would be good to know, and also a good point for us to improve our system if there is that sort of catch, right, where everybody messes up on something.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I've been I've raised a couple of issues with headquarters recently because of questions that I had, and partly because we're running this competition. People were putting up their hand with questions, and hence the explanation about transaction volume. And but you have to know that you can't edit it either once you put it in there. Because I put in a deal that I did with Frederick Schneider, which I've been working on for years, and it finally came through. And to do with the transaction volume, I'd only put 1 year's lease in there, 1 year's volume, because that's That's the value of the lease is, well, the annual value anyway that our fees are calculated on. But then of course it turned out that I should have put 10 years in, and you know, I couldn't edit it, so I had to go back to HQ and have it deleted and start again. So you learn, you know, by mistake. But
that's good advice.
Yeah.
So yes, I didn't know that editing was not possible, but I guess that makes some sense for us on our end. Doesn't make sense from perhaps a member's perspective, but
no.
So that is that. You can check the status of your transaction, or you can review what your transactions were. I went to look for mine, but of course mine was submitted on the one I just submitted, but of course it was submitted as an what's the word I'm looking for here? It was submitted as statistical only, so it will not show up.
Why don't you, I know you're on a video, aren't you? Yeah, sorry.
I can certainly switch over, it just takes a minute.
Oh, no, if you've got a test there, that's good. That's just to see what comes up.
Yep, so I was actually looking for my specific one, and I'm just searching for that transaction, but I'll hit search and it won't pop up with anything because I was looking for my specific one. But okay. It's very specific, it's very easy search criteria to look at, and you can just, it's very easy to find. One other thing of note is we do track the number of transactions that are submitted, and it does reflect on your chapter leaderboards by member. So I don't have a picture of that because I was reminded of it this morning after I had done my video, but that is something, if that is something of interest to see where sort of you stand among the number of transactions you've submitted versus other people within your chapter, that is something you can always
Okay. In relation to that, I think you might have touched on it earlier when you went into the member's profile, where you can see, your details, but you can also see what conferences you've attended. Do you also see the transactions you've entered then in that? Is that part of the profile of MySIOR, or is that somewhere else?
You can see that on your profiles. I believe it is both on the front-facing one via Find an SIOR and on the one in MySIOR. We will see the MySIOR one, or at least pictures of it, in a short amount of time.
We could see Michael Payne's deals by searching for him, see the deals he's done and all the conferences he's been to in the US, for example.
Yes, that is correct. And I'm just going to do a test case for myself at the moment to make sure I don't tell people misinformation, because that would be terrible.
Yeah.
And so we'll use your example of Michael Payne.
Well, because he's here and he's paying attention. And,
very nice of you, Matthew, to assume that I do any deals at all.
Well, exactly. I thought it's name and shame. If you haven't got any deals in there, it means you've got no chance of winning 12 bottles of wine.
Indeed, I'm very jealous of Nick McAlmont Woods, I must say.
So the bio will reflect your conference attendance. It does not, at least this does not reflect transactions, which means it's probably within the one on Find an SIOR, which means it probably is in MySIOR. And by probably, again, we're going to go just make sure that's the case. I thought we did, and to be honest, I thought we put transactions in the public profiles, but that is
okay. We'll make a note.
Always a question, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, I will get back to you all on that, and we can move forward with our presentation because I know I am dragging on a little bit.
Oh, sorry, we're interrupting you.
No, you're fine. You keep asking me questions right about the time I'm about to be like, any questions? So this is really good.
Good. It's almost as if we'd rehearsed.
Almost. So this just finishes out the transaction section. I did want to point out there are other things you can see. You can sign up for conferences here. If there are webinars you'd like to download that have been public that SIOR has published, those will be there. You can also get access to our magazine here. We did just recently launch a new digital edition of the SIOR report, so I highly encourage everybody to take a look. And then there is also, if you want swag with the SIOR logo on it, we do have a style shop. And now onto MySIOR. So MySIOR, as I said, is a members only forum. It's a great place to communicate with your peers. and gain their insights, or post wants, needs, and what your wants and needs. We do, again, find better responses here. So on the landing page, you'll see some really quick pieces to view your communities, check your profile and preferences.
Upcoming events. Oh, there's an SIOR Europe workshop, business breakfast roundtable with TSL industry partner. Oh, that looks really interesting.
Yes, it does sound really interesting. It's too bad it will be like 3 a.m. my time, so yeah, I will not be joining you.
We'll record it.
Thank you. I look forward to it. But you can see upcoming events, and again, the most recent discussions and posts. Underneath communities, you can see the communities you are currently part of. This was just a very quick browse through. Anything you're listed in will be here. Most people aren't in as many communities as staff. And the person's whose account I'm using is staff. This is our sort of test account. So that's why. And if you click onto any of them, it will take you to that forum, that specific forum. So it shows you everybody who's part of that community, any shared files, any current discussions, and if there are any things that had been uploaded to the library, because there is a document library in here, they are available. And that library is underneath library. I will tell you that the member group webinars that we have been running the past year and a bit are underneath the SIOR.com in that educations and insights webinars piece, rather than being hosted on MySIOR.
This is where it gets confusing. Okay.
It is where it gets confusing, because we do host your chapter webinars on MySIOR. So
yeah,
it is indeed a little confusing.
Okay, well, there's some improvement that's needed there. But anyway, so these are the communities. There's 126 different communities. Is that right? 124 different communities that you can join. Is that right?
So there are 124 communities. Not all of them are
relevant.
Not all of them are relevant at all.
Interesting.
For instance, you can see the 2018 Spring Designation course has a community, and some of these may not be visible to you if you logged in. And again, that's because the person whose account we're using is a staff person. And so the communities that we see are often much more than the communities that you see. But the ones that appear.
Erin,
yep.
Erin, question on communities. That on what you see, there's some that appear as like view only, which presumably therefore are locked out by somebody. So hold that thought for a moment. The second thing is relating to the management of the communities, because I have previously gone in and looked at a few of these, and I see that on good number of them, there's been no recent dialogue whatsoever, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, and so on. Therefore, QED, it suggests they're redundant. Who, therefore, makes a decision to make things disappear? Because, yeah.
So you ask a really good question. We are aware of that as an issue. One of the, I don't want to say problems, this is a platform that we utilize, right? So we license this platform, and that is one of the challenges with the platform, is how to best address communities that aren't used anymore and where they draw from. So we constantly look at it, we constantly seek improvements in it, but at the end of the day, sometimes those aren't capable of being deleted by us. At the moment. So you're absolutely right. And we don't have a good way to hide them, although I may do a little bit more digging on that to hide some of the ones that don't have activity.
Right.
So you bring up an excellent point. That is one of our concerns, and one of our concerns, not the right word.
Yeah, because make sure I'm not on mute, because it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because on the one hand, you want to encourage people to utilize communities, but the more you get, the less utilization there therefore becomes. Yes. So
that's exactly
quite a challenge.
So one of the things we try to do is sort of encourage people with general questions to go to SIOR Central, and then the more specific targeted pieces into the member groups. And member groups are generally done by your areas of practice in that and preferences that you set in your profile. So we do have some ways of sort of narrowing those connections. We just don't have a good way of doing it for all communities at the moment.
Okay, thanks.
But that is an excellent point. And again, we are aware of the issue, and we do try to we do look at it probably every 2 to 3 months to be like, what can we do now? So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And again, this is just a show of the brief all communities. This is SIOR Central. It is our most active discussion for the most part. I think this and the independent brokers group may have our 2 most active discussion pieces. SIOR Central is open to all members. And this is your profile on MySIOR. It's underneath my account. You can also get to it by clicking the little drop-down button by the picture at the top of the page on the right-hand side. Under my account is where communication preferences live. And this is one of those pieces where, so this is the last sort of piece of the communications that SIOR sends. These come from this platform. So communications preferences on the SIOR.com side are the global communications. MySIOR communications are the forum communications. And you can set your preferences for notifications within a community, community by community. As you can see, there are several options, including a consolidated daily digest, a consolidated weekly digest, a daily digest, no email. And you can set, if you do a consolidated digest, you can set it so that communities that you're receiving that daily digest from don't send you other emails. If you don't have that set, you'll get all the emails. There are 3 options in terms of how you want your emails sent to you. It can be real-time, daily digest, or no email. If you're not interested in receiving emails from, again, for instance, the CRE news and resources, no email. If you want it collated into one nice, but by community, daily digest. If you just want lump sum emails, a consolidated digest will work best. And these are all for you to tailor your preferences. You can receive emails in forum. We don't necessarily see them very often, and they will go to your inbox. And you can set whether or not you receive those from here. So email preferences are on this. That's slightly different than your community preferences. And I can go into more detail if you'd like, but it is probably easiest for specific questions than for me to guess at what you might want to know more about. But yeah, so this is the communications piece of that. And then if you select the pen by contact details, it will take you, 1 second, right back to the edit profile piece that we started with. And that's pretty much all I have on this topic. SIOR also has an events calendar where you can see all of the upcoming events. And if you're ever interested, we are making use of our volunteer platform slowly but surely. So if you ever want to participate more actively in SIOR as a volunteer with the organization as a whole, that's a great place to go. But these are all of our upcoming events. Some of them will say open to all. So you are more than welcome to attend or participate in those. Some of them are closed. And if they don't say open to all, or they're members, or they're all open to all members in general. And this includes chapter events and SIOR global events. And that really is everything. So I'm going to stop there. I have 8 minutes until you all have happy hour, which is exciting. Can I answer questions?
I would just add that the emails that come from the European chapter have nothing to do with anything that Erin has just explained over the last 50 minutes. So if you don't want emails from the chapter, which come from me and or Paul or well, anyone really, if we want them to come from different people, they've come from Christoph in the past and Charlie recently, as well as Paul tanks, then you can click on the unsubscribe link at the bottom of those emails, but then you won't get anything about any events that are happening in Europe. You might get them indirectly via headquarters because they are pushed out on those emails as well. Yeah, so back to Erin's question. Any questions?
I think I did a good job, Matthew. Nobody has questions.
Erin, I've got one for you. Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you very much indeed for an interesting tour of the website. There's an awful lot there, isn't there, to be discovered, which is quite interesting. Could you just show us again very quickly the where you can participate in putting articles on the website for people to read? It was a couple of frames ago, I think.
So you can post discussions to the SIOR forum. 1 second.
Yes.
And I want to back that up a little bit. And I didn't touch on that too deeply because I wasn't sure how much of interest that would be. But let me find where I want to be on my piece. SIOR Central.
While you're looking, I'd just add to that. One of the things that we're doing at the moment within the European chapter, we're put together a social media guidance and protocol, and it's a little bit like the communities, because on the one hand, we're really trying to encourage much more dialogue and sharing of interesting information and so on. And to your point, Michael, it's all very well creating stuff, but if nobody can access it or doesn't know where to access it, then it's not serving the purpose you want it to serve. So twofold, I think, Erin, in terms of what you're just going to say to Michael now, in terms of what you're doing, and also what we're going to release next week in terms of good guidance, best practice on utilization of social media and so on. Because some of that stuff that's coming on social media will sensibly go into what you're just about to explain to Michael, where he can post stuff.
Yeah. So as I said, I didn't do a very deep run through. So I'm going to share my screen and quickly go into the SIOR Central to walk you through how to post a discussion.
Right, thank you.
But it's not, I won't actually hit post, because then I will just bother everybody and get my hand slapped for doing that, and that would be bad. So
before
you can
do that,
see
Erin,
this, right?
I would just,
Mm-hmm.
not yet, but I would just add that there's also the head of communications, Alexis, who is looking for content for blogs, 400 to 800 words, and that gets posted as well in a different section. So if there's an article of, a report, research, or something that you've done, and you can turn it into a mini press release or mini article about it, then it can go on the .com website. Obviously, the content has to be approved in that, but it's actually quite good way of getting things out there as well.
And we've had some really interesting
audience, because it's open to the public. Yeah.
Yep. Some really interesting things added to that. So the discussion forum is pretty easy. You click add, and it takes you into what looks like an email client, essentially. It does go to the SIOR Central community. It also gets sent, depending upon people's communication preferences, directly to their inboxes. And then you just type whatever you want.
Can you share that on your screen, Erin?
Oh, is it not showing? I did hit share. Is that not showing?
No, it's not showing on mine, but
can anybody else see that, or am I not doing
it?
Yeah,
I've got it on mine, all right.
All right, hold on. Okay. We're going to restart that because I just closed out of it. So share. Can everybody see?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So it says start new thread, and to get there, let me just back out of this. It was, if you go into a community, there's a latest discussion post, and all you have to do is hit add.
So to get to that page, Erin, that's what I was wasn't quite sure about. To get to the page you're on now, you need to go into communities, do you? Is that the route into it?
So if SIOR requires that you post to a community, right? And so you have to select the community.
Yes.
So the best way to do it is to, if you're trying to post to whatever community you're trying to post to, In this case, I was trying to post to SIOR Central. You go to SIOR Central, into the community, and then there should be a blue box that says, again, add at the top. You can also click on tabs up here to get to the different sections of the community and edit, post new message, which is the same thing.
And is it possible to post to everyone rather than just a particular community? Could you post it to all SIOR members globally?
So that's essentially what SIOR Central does. SIOR Central is everybody who is a member is in SIOR Central.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
And it goes to everyone, assuming that they haven't unticked a box saying that they don't want those emails, either daily or weekly or monthly.
Correct.
So it's not guaranteed to go to all 3,460 members, but it will go to as many as those that haven't opted out.
Correct.
Matthew, Erin, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
If I wanted to pitch to a client and I wanted to include a European coverage map that basically showed where SIOR folks were located across Europe, is that something that I have the ability to download and include in a PowerPoint?
Yes, it's not specific. It is a heat map more than a specific piece. You can also create a more specific map, and that was part of the walkthrough earlier. I didn't actually...
Exactly, yeah. But would that include the people's bios underneath as it showed when you were walking through, or would it just have the logos to show where people were located?
So the team portfolio will provide people's contact information.
Right.
The global coverage map, which is just the heat map of Europe, does not. It just shows where those people are, where people are located. So you could combine them.
My question is, if I looked at where everybody in Europe was located, and I'm saying to a client, look at the reach I have across Europe, do I have the ability to put a little dot on all the countries where European people are based and create a map showing, a dot map showing where everybody is?
I think you're too advanced for me and for
yeah, there used to be dots, but now it's just a heat map. So it says, you know, less than 3 or between 10 and 5, you know, 10 and 20 or whatever it is.
So one
coverage maps, briefly, right? Didn't we? Coverage maps. There we go. Yeah.
So this is what the Europe piece looks like currently. And again, this is updated. It is not updated every month, but we do have a regular update for it.
Yeah, so for example, we're 42 countries now, so I know that headquarters know that they have to update it, but and we have, for example, Daniel is not on there now yet because Romania is not highlighted, but it's a fairly new member, but they know they have to do that.
Yes.
And Daniel's gone anyway, so that's okay.
So we are aware that there are some changes. We're a little, this does need to be updated, but this is the heat map, right? So this is one piece. So you could combine this map with the team coverage to say, here's where everybody is located. And I specifically know somebody in X place, X place, and X place. But we don't have anything that sort of combines.
Yeah, I think what I'd probably do there, Erin, is I'd probably screenshot it and add some dots on it myself, because I think that has a greater impact than a heat map, to my mind.
You can download that as a JPEG or a PNG or whatever you can. Yeah,
those are options. There's a JPEG and a PDF.
When you're talking about adding dots, are you meaning sort of capital cities or dots as you so choose to tailor it?
Really just showing, say for example, you know, we were able to turn around and say to a client, we've got somebody in Paris, we've got somebody in Rome, we've got somebody in Milan. I think from where I'm coming from as an independent broker, to be able to demonstrate one's reach, you know, and compete with the bigger guys on a sort of a global scale is quite a powerful tool. But I'm not sure the heat map necessarily conveys that message.
And on that subject, on that subject, exactly, Erin, are there maps, presumably primarily of the USA, which has actually got the primary cities on, which actually answers that question, or do they not exist at this moment? No. Okay.
It used to be like that, but then they've changed it, haven't they?
And I think the part of that's because it's not, it's more, I don't want to say impactful, but it shows better for, I actually have no idea. I'm not a marketing and communications purpose. I don't understand why choices get made.
Well, I tell you one thing. It is, you know, whether you CBRE, Jones Lang, or smaller firms. I'm sure Patrick would be familiar to this. It's a never-ending problem.
Right.
I've seen NAI Global's map, and they put so many dots on. It's just red blodge, you know. So it's the sort of thing in a way that maybe there's no answer, but I think we all search for a better answer.
And I think we've tried, you know, I've tried putting things just on my own time to see how the maps present. And it's complicated because you either get all these clusters and it doesn't present well because they're so tiny compared to everything else. You don't see everybody, or you see one gigantic blodge and you can't tell that this person's actually often, you know, I actually know no geography, not at all. So, you know, this person's in DC and this person's in Baltimore, which just so you're aware, they're about an hour apart, give or take, right? And they look like they're together. So those are some things for us to think about, and I will take your feedback back to see if we can't figure out at least some way to create more customizable designs. But I can make no promises because that is not my role.
Well, thank you anyway.
Is there anything else I can answer before we start the better part of this afternoon?
Yeah, Leslie's back, so she wants to have a drink with us. So but we've got lots of time.
And Erin, of course, you're very welcome.
Paul, thank you very much, but I got to get back to my real job at the same time. So enjoy, and we will be talking soon. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Pat.
Thanks.
Thanks,
It's a
Pat.
little early for me to have a drink, so I just come on and wave to y'all, even though I'm not on video.
Well, I'm going to disappear and get one.
Thanks, Erin.
Y'all are running late on your cocktails today.
What was that you said, Leslie?
I said you're running late on your cocktails today.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got so much to talk about.
And when is your time change again? 10 days?
I think the clocks go forward at the end of this month. I shall tell you. Daylight saving ends on the 28th. Daylight saving is time starts, so yeah, on the 28th. Spring forward, clocks back, fall back. I'll get it in there, get there in the end, 28th. So we've got 2 weeks where we're an hour closer. So how are you, Mark? Oh yeah, go. Oh, you're going to say goodbye, Erin?
I'm going to say adieu. Thank you all so much for having me. If you have any questions, obviously, please reach out to Matthew or to me or to membership@sior.com. We are happy to help.
Yeah, and we have recorded the session, so I'll edit it into a 1-hour video, and you can watch it again if you want, if you need some help. And those obviously have missed it, can review it as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.